So here we are, day 2 of the Leads Made Easy Challenge, and it's all about fine-tuning your avatar. If you're watching right here on Facebook Live, you are welcome to just observe in Facebook mode, or you can join us by clicking on the link here, and I'll make sure that we got it again. I'll post it for you. It's in the thread, but I will make sure that you have it here because I would love to have you here on this to join us. So if you want to do more than just watch, and you want to jump on here and talk, let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm going to post that here in the thread and make sure that we've got it. Hang on a sec. Again, back to my square. All right, that is in. And are we on? Yes. All right, I'm seeing it. So yeah, it's in the thread here below. Make sure that you're checking that. And plan to come on here and ask your questions. You can post them in the thread and we'll answer them, we'll speak to them, or you can jump in right here and join us on the Facebook or on the Zoom call here so that we can have you broadcast and see what's going on. So there it is. The link is in the thread. Jump in. Feel free to join us. I'd love to have you. I see Mr. Jeff Bell join us here. And there we go. People jumping on, joining in. No problem. I'm going to make sure now allow to talk. There we go. All right. I'm figuring this out. I'm becoming officially a tech giant. Not really, but all good. So what I would love to do here is just unpack this a little bit more. I know we had a lot going on in today's day 2 video and about refining the avatar. And I want to share a few things with you about it. It's something first and foremost that is one of those things that people can take for granted. I mean, how many times have you worked on your avatar? Right? How many times have you fine-tuned your ideal client? And we want to make sure that you have a different perspective on it, right? And so it's super, super easy when you jump into a training like that, well, I've done that, or I have my avatar, and I already know it, which is also part of the reason we did that erase your brain exercise, right? So that you don't take into what you think you already know into this exercise, but that you are able to open your mind, have a beginner's mind, and dive into this process, right? Now, I can tell you that's something that I didn't used to be able to do easy, but now I do religiously. I'm very learned. I'm a pretty smart guy. I know a ton about building business and about sales and about making money. And I go into every training. I sit on webinars all the time. I opt into people's funnels almost every day because I'm always examining, seeing what people are doing, what works, what doesn't, fascinated by things that people are trying. And I'm always looking at it to go, okay, what could I learn here? Right. And it has benefited me tremendously. And I want to make sure that you have that same perspective and that opportunity. So I see a panelist with a hand up. Bum, bum, bum. And that is Bonnie. Is that Miss Bonnie Sita? I had a question. All right. Bonnie, go ahead and you can unmute yourself. I have given you ability to speak in here.
Can you hear me, Jim?
I can, yes.
Hey, Jim. How's it going?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm enjoying the challenge so far, but I'm a little confused about my ideal client avatar and their stages for my dance studio parents, people who are bringing their kids into my dance studio. And the goal is building more confident kids, which is what I do.
Okay.
So I can't really, I'm really having trouble identifying like where in the stages they are, because most parents, they come in with just the idea, I'm going to put my kid in a dance class. So I'm thinking they're maybe like way down the waterfall. Well, as I talk about it, it's actually starting to make sense. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to work this out live. So I think they're way down the waterfall where they don't realize some of the things that I realize that could happen to their kid if their kid doesn't develop confidence, which is kind of my stealth transformation. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And as you're speaking it, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And I, fortunate enough to know you and your story and who you work with. So I would say most of your parents are probably in that place where they just don't know what they don't know. So it sounds like most of the people you're addressing are in the floating stage. They're far enough upstream that they haven't really they haven't gotten present to the reality that there is a falls ahead, right? So that if that's, now here's the question: is that who you are serving currently or attracting, or is that who you want to serve?
I think that's mostly who I'm serving. And then I have some people whose kids are already kind of going over the cliff, although some of those parents don't actually know that their kids are going over the cliff or realize that what I'm doing can help their kids. So a lot of this to me always feels like education, education, education.
Yes. That is, that's one of the biggest pieces that happen in the floating stage. That's part of the reason that I tend to stay away from it for
Yes,
me personally. And
right.
again, it's not, you just have to really decide what's your strength. In floating stage, you have to be really good at educating them. You have to help, you have to create urgency where there isn't any. And,
Gotcha.
and that's great. There's plenty of people who are great at that and who love that, because, maybe you're just completely sold out. You have to weigh that against like the option of, what's the downstream concern? What if you were to meet them after they went through the falls? Now, it might be an easier place to find them because they're screaming for help and they're in chaos. However, knowing you and your heart, do you want to work with those kids by that point? I mean, I'm sure you'd want to save them, but I know you want to prevent that. So if people came to you after they were in the falls, that means their kid probably went through some bad stuff.
Right. And the thing is, I think I can only, this is something that's impacting my business right now because I have some of those kids that went over the falls. Like I can have 9 kids who are not over the falls, who might never go over the falls. And then I could serve 1 kid, but I can't serve 10 kids who already went over the falls because I'd be doing therapy, which is not what I do.
Right.
So we've been discussing this a lot in the studio because those people are starting to attract to me because they're going, wow, this person has helped other kids and other parents who are in my situation, but I don't want to fill my whole studio with them because I will have to do therapy 24/7, and that's not what I do.
Right.
So, this has been a challenge.
Yeah. Well, that's the purpose of this whole exercise. Again, it's not about making any of it right or wrong. It's about really understanding to a clear level what direction you want to go in, what lane you want to be in.
Right.
Because
That's great.
everybody, now you can make those decisions, and then you can start looking for where else, either you get better at intentionally supporting those people. And now instead of just randomly catching those people, you now seek them.
Right.
And then you have to figure out how to connect the dots to them so that they see urgency right from the get. So you're not really even promoting dance, you're promoting preventative maintenance and proactive care. Right. And all of that. So, you know those
well,
words.
that helps give some clarity. And then the last piece I'll bring in is that I just created a membership program with Mark and Shannon's coaching. And I think the membership program is going to be a more full program. And that's maybe where some of the parents who have these concerns, I'm just starting to look at ways that I can break out some things for them that maybe the other parents might want to use or might not really need. They might just be happy with what they have. So it's going to be another level within the business.
Yeah. And that might be an easier place to capture people. And then from there, that's where you educate them. That's where you're going to find a lot of those floating parents in that group, but you're building relationship and they're starting to find you. And now you'll have access to their ears a little differently.
Well, that's really helpful. So I'm going to go and do the rest of the homework for today, and maybe even look at yesterday's homework again. And I thank you for your expertise. Thanks
Definitely.
a lot, Jim.
Awesome.
All
right. Good to have you. Okay. So what else do we have here? Who else has a question that they would like to bring to the table? Any clarity, or just you want to walk through your exercise? And if you're on the Zoom call, you can unmute yourself. You've all been given the permission to speak. So I had a little training call with Zoom last night.
Yeah, this is Jeff.
Jeff Bell, what's up?
Hi. So congratulations on using Zoom. Love it. And there is a lot to know about it. So yeah. Okay, awesome. So real quick, I'm still confused about whether my people are in stage 3 or stage 4. And because adults who've been diagnosed with cancer hire me to guide them back to health without using chemotherapy or radiation. And so they've clearly gone over the falls. I don't think there's any question about that,
Right.
because they're up the creek at this point, and their life is at risk. But am I working with them on recovery, or you know what I'm saying? Or am I? Because I also extend into making sure the cancer doesn't come back.
Right. It's interesting because in your scenario, I would, to me, it feels like they're coming the questions I would probably be asking if I'm in your situation is, are they needing you to be able to get into recovery? Or are they coming to you after they've already been through the trauma and now they're trying to figure out how to put themselves back together? So to me, that's more the clarification point.
Yeah, and I actually, there's some of both, which is why I'm confused about it, because some of them come to me after they've tried chemotherapy and hopefully not radiation, but unfortunately sometimes.
Right.
And so then I have to repair the damage or help them repair the damage from that too. And some of them come to me because they say, no, I don't want to do that. So it's really two different scenarios.
Got it. Well, then this is where you want to be able to refine that. And with these questions are, it sounds like you're attracting more than one person, which is what we all do.
Yeah.
But the key here is, which is the person that you're most suited to serve, which is the person you are most passionate about serving, and being kind to yourself, especially in your scenario, because you're dealing with delicate situation. There's no judgment. Like if you said, I only want to deal with the recovery, I don't want to deal with the devastation part, you might feel guilty in saying that, because it might sound like you're turning your back on them. And you need to give yourself complete permission to just to show up in your best place. Now, knowing that you're always going to attract people at different stages, but the point is that the whole purpose of this exercise is that you want to be able to identify them acutely, so that again, there's more coming in these next few days of the challenge, but we're going to be setting up how you're actually attracting these very specific people. And through the process of that, just like in the video for the module 2, that the bullseye concept is your messaging. The more fine-tuned your messaging is to the bullseye, the better you're going to be able to attract people in all the zones. Because when you expand out from the bullseye, that's when you start catching people in the other areas, right? Because you're shooting for a bullseye. Sometimes you get the 75, sometimes you get the 50, sometimes you get the 25 in the outer rings. But if you're shooting for everybody, you never hit the bullseye. So that's really the concept that we want to stay focused on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But once for me, the distinction I've been thinking about is, okay, do I want people who've gone the conventional model and gotten themselves into even more trouble, or do I want people who up front just say, no, I'm not doing that, let's do the alternative, but either way, they're still in a state of devastation because they've gotten the diagnosis of cancer. So that's where I'm still feeling a little confusion.
Well, it sounds like that might be the place. To me, from what I understand of you, I think you're definitely dealing with people in devastation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think either way it's devastation.
Yeah. So you're in the place of devastation. Now what you want to think through is, within that, you want to have, that's what the today's exercise is about, is fine-tuning within that, which are those people. Like I'm going to give you guys an example of one of our ideal client, of our avatar for one of these specific offerings, and to the level of detail that we've identified her. And you want to be able to think, same thing you just said, like that's a very important component of this. Have they already gone the traditional route, or are they totally not interested in the traditional route? You can have a preference and have no judgment about it.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's really helpful. That's the piece I was stuck on. Thank you.
Got it. Good. Awesome. All right. Who else? Melanie, if you want to speak, you can just unmute yourself and you're good to go. Anybody else? What other questions do we have in here that we need to be addressing? Bum, bum, bum. All right. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to share a little bit. I want you to see, and this is just a piece. Okay, Cyndi and I do a lot of layers of depth in this area. But this is my portion of the exercise, the homework exercise, okay? Introducing you to a more accurate avatar, right? Hi, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Antia. I can easily identify Antia by the way she seeks results, knows where she struggles in the sales process, takes massive action to learn from her mistakes. She's vulnerable. She's willing to share the truths and the embarrassments and the struggles of what she does wrong because she's seeking an outcome that's even greater. She's a willing learner, even though she knows a lot. And she keeps a beginner's mind at all times. And she never judges herself or does her best not to. Right? She loves to serve her people well, and she knows she needs to seek mastery in order to do so. So she can be a responsible business owner to show up and serve her people the way that they were intended. Whoops, where am I? I thought I lost connection there. Okay. She appreciates my expertise. She values my time. She loves to stay engaged and pay well for services. She sings my praises because she believes in me and is willing to share, because she wants other people who she knows are struggling with the same things to be able to be served well. She refers people consistently. She cares immensely about making a difference in the world and the lives of those that she serves, and she is motivated to make as much money as possible as a result of that impact, and to be able to use that profit to be able to impact the world in other ways. Right? This is just a component. I can go pages deeper. We have a lot, right? And we refine this stuff. And I can tell you with certainty, I want you to expect some clarity and some changes. You're going to start noticing that the more you can refine this, the more you can address this, that you're going to start pulling people into this conversation in a different way. You know, Cyndi and I refine our avatars consistently a couple of times a year, because we change. As we change, so does our perspective, so does our ability to serve, so does the desire for serving different people. As you move and mature, maybe you want to help people in a different stage, right? You know, last time we went through this exercise, we literally in the next week had a few of those exact clients show up. We were building an avatar, and that exact person showed up, paid full pay, did everything, signed up for a VIP day, jumped into our program and everything, right? And it happens because it's just like, it's just like when you're shopping for a new car and you go test drive that car, and then all of a sudden you see them everywhere on the road. You're now tuned in, you're focused. This stuff keeps it front and center, right? So, you know, how does that work for you? What are your thoughts on that? I'd love to hear what's coming up for you. What's the questions you're asking? What's the challenges in your brain around narrowing this focus and having that? And, you know, hopefully this example helps. So, yeah, and if you want to jump on the call, please do. Click on the link here in the thread. Come on and, you know, ask your question. We can talk it through. I'm here to help. Love to see what we can do to make this thing shine for you. All right. Keeping in mind, again, the bullseye concept, right? It's, you know, I've heard it described as a little bit more crudely as, you know, one shot, one kill, instead of spraying everywhere to get thousands of leads and hopefully, you know, and move them through the funnel so that you're having hundreds of conversations and getting dozens of clients. This is, you know, sometimes having a really refined target gives you an opportunity to just be able to go, okay, boom, there's one, got it. Boom, there's one, got it. Right? There's one, got her. And so maybe you don't have thousands of clients. Maybe you just get dozens of clients, but you get out of dozens of leads because you are much more refined and strategic in who you're marketing to and when, and what's the message. And then the more you know this, the message just gets crystal clear as you start pulling them through the process, so that when they get to talk to you, right, the experience that I have in our business and what we teach people, you know, by the time they come to me, they're already predominantly pre-sold. They just need to hear a few things, fill in a couple of gaps. And then the offer that you make is perfectly makes sense, because that's the conversation you've been having with them the whole time, because you are crystal clear and refined in the messaging. Okay. So that, the other component that I wanted to address here is around the verb. Okay. The verb. I would love to hear from you with the verb exercise that was in the video. How does that pertain to you? What did you come up with? Right. Cyndi and I used to run a monthly local meetup where people would come and we do speakers and we do sales training and different things. And one of the things that we would do is we'd have you, you get a name tag, and we'd have you write on your name tag, what is your verb? And that verb is what, if you happened to somebody, what is the experience? How are they transformed? How have they been impacted? Right. So when they meet you, if they were, if they got gymmed, then, and it depends on stages of where you are in your evolution of your business and your life. I used to be, for me, if you got gymmed, then that meant you were impacted by action taking. I wanted to move you to a place of taking massive action. That used to be a big thing for me. Still is, right? But I've come to realize that before action comes inspiration, right? You have to be inspired to take action. And so now that's the verb that I'm focusing around most of the time. I want you to be inspired to listen, inspired to take action, inspired to step up and do something different, inspired to risk failing and make mistakes, right? So I'm very curious to hear what your verb is. Again, feel free to jump in here, click on the link, come on in, or post it in the thread if you're watching the video, whether live or not. Excuse me. And am I seeing, looks like the live got disconnected. Is it? No, maybe it is. Okay. Somebody, there we go. I see it's still moving. All right. Sometimes this is deceptive. Cool. All right. So give me some answers in here. Anybody have a thought around that? Anybody, if you got your verb, I'd love to hear that. Feel free to post it. Would you like to give us a good example of an avatar? Well, hopefully I just did that for you. So good question. And I gave you an example of ours with Antia. And again, I could give you literally double, triple, 10 times of what I shared with you, because it's to the level of that refinement. That's the person I'm looking for. Okay. So the one thing I want to encourage you to do is remove the judgment. Remove the judgment from the equation. Jeff's was a great example that we were talking about, right? Is, he helped people with cancer. I mean, it's terminal, it's scary, it's a huge responsibility. It's got to be deeply emotional work, right? And it could be easy to say, well, I want to help them in devastation because I don't want to say that I don't, because that would be horrible. You could be so self-critical, right? And you want to free yourself up from that, because this is about you putting yourself in position to help them the greatest. Where do you help them the most? Where do you provide the most impact? Our daughters, we have 3 daughters, right? And our oldest one, when they were kids and living at home, she had, our 2 younger daughters would give her a hard time because she was, they're gorgeous, and always guys were always chasing after him, which always drove me nuts, of course. But she, she had higher standards, and she was very, very picky and selective with the guys that she wanted to date. And, our other 2 daughters would sometimes call her a snob for that. And, it may seem that, but the thing we had to look at the perspective of, she's the one who had to date them. She's the one who has to want to, she might be limiting her pool of available candidates, but by doing this, she was crystal clear in who she wanted to serve and how. And so she had to free herself up from that judgment. She was like, I'm not wrong because I want to date the guy who's 6 foot and above and athletic, or this, or whatever, these traits and those traits. It's your choice. You choose. This is your business, nobody else's. It is only up to you to determine how you want to show up, the kind of people you want to work with, how do you want to feel at the end of the day, and how do you surround yourself with those people for the most part, right? You get to do this. You can articulate this, or you can be the architect of this design for your own business, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. So remove the judgment from that component. All right. Any questions? I see Mauro, Melanie. Anybody got a question you want to dive into here? Transformer. Good, Janice. That's good. I'm not surprised by that either, knowing you. Good stuff. All right. Any questions that chime in, pop in there. Feel free to click on the link in that first thread and the first post and jump on the call. If you want to ask a question, we can dialogue it out, talk it out here. Just come in and hang out on the live. We'll be on here for a few more minutes. Going to wrap this up shortly. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that we are clear about is that you can change this anytime. So don't feel like you have to be perfect. Don't, matter of fact, I want to encourage you to screw it up. Okay, just take action, take a guess, land on this, try something. So don't feel like, oh my God, I got to get the perfect avatar. I have to be in the perfect stream. This is about making decisions. You know, something Cyndi says all the time is it's awesome as a leader to make decisions because you can always make a new decision tomorrow. So you're not married to the decisions that you make, unless of course the decision was to marry somebody. So uh, ideally. So I want you to think through that. Just make a decision and try it on. See how it feels on. Start, working through what does it sound like to talk to these people? What does it sound like to go through the process with these people, to help them, to serve them, and then you can always make adjustments. But right now, the chances are you're not as refined. And I'm not even going to say chances. I'm just going to call it like it is. I guarantee you're not as refined as you need to be, because it's never done. So even if you have a really good handle on it, there are new levels of nuance and distinction that you can bring to the equation. And that's what I'm trying to challenge you to do. So if you went through day 1 exercise and day 2 exercise and you haven't made any adjustments, then I'm going to challenge you to go back and do that again. Find one area of clarity, one new distinction, one level of depth. Find something else that you can embrace, or find something else that you can eliminate. But there has to be some level of nuance for you, and probably several. Tons. When I go through this, I always make a lot of changes, to the point where I have to limit myself to not make too many changes, because it's easy to do that once you start diving in. Right. So one other question I'd love to have you drop in here before we bounce is what's one thing you've learned about yourself in going through this exercise? Just post it in the thread. Feel free, or again, jump on the call. We'll hang out for a couple more minutes. We're going to wrap this up. But what's one thing you learned about yourself? Okay. And what's one level of clarity that you have created as a result? Like one thing you came to say, oh, I had not thought of it like that. Or, oh, now I realize this is the change I'm going to make. This is the person I want to serve. This is the person I no longer want to serve. This is the person I want to be. Notice when I gave you a description of Antia as an ideal client, right? It wasn't just about her. It was about her relationship to me. Right? I didn't just say, here's what she does, here's who she is, here's what she's about. It's how does she respond to me, right? She listens, she respects, she honors our time. She loves that we value our time. She loves that we, she loves to pay for her services. She loves to pay full. She loves to pay on time. She honors the fact that she can't reach us 24 hours a day because she wants us to have sacred space as well, right? All of this stuff goes into the process. And the more you can refine this, that's how you start getting the identification of a person, which is why the name makes so much sense, because it fits. You're giving it to it. You're creating an identity of a person that you get to serve, that represents your tribe, your community, your following. Cool. All right, so that's that. We got lots to do. I want you to get busy doing your exercises and start and being excited about where you can make some change and make a difference. And totally glad to be able to be a part of your success team and be on this journey with you. And look forward to making some more magic happen. We'll see you in the group, and be ready for tomorrow's exercise.